Will you marry me? Probably not. Hi, I'm T1J.
Follow me.
So before I get started on the video, just a quick update for anyone who supports me on Patreon or who is thinking about supporting me on Patreon. I recently switched from per creation funding to per month funding. So if you do support me on Patreon, you may want to update your pledge. I made a post about it on Patreon. I'll link to that below. It'll give you all the information you need to know, and you can email me and message me if you have any questions. And I know there were some people that were a little bit iffy about the whole per video thing. It's kind of all over the place. You don't really know how much it's going to be at the end of the month. So this way is a lot more stable and predictable for both you guys and me. Anyway, today we're going to do another Q&A. I asked you guys to ask me questions on social media, and I'm going to answer some of those questions. When you make a video, how do you hope people will react or feel? What do you want the viewers to get from watching it? It's interesting that you asked that because it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. I recently wrote a blog on my website where I said basically that I'm thinking about focusing more on why I make videos, because it's easy to lose sight on the reason that you make videos in the first place. You get caught up in all the views and numbers and income and things like that, and you kind of lose sight of why you do it. So I think there are a couple things that I want people to get out of my videos. So first of all, most of my videos are me expressing an opinion or making an argument. And obviously I try to make those arguments compelling, and I like you to consider those arguments and maybe even be convinced. But even more so than that, my goal is to promote good discussions on the internet. I've talked about this a lot, but I just think that discussions, especially discussions about social issues and politics, are just mostly terrible on the internet. And my goal is to be a place where decent, civil, thoughtful discussions can happen. Another idea that I really want to advance in these videos and what I want you to think about is the fact that we can think critically, we can employ skepticism and reason, and we can do those things without being cynical and unhappy and dishonest and rude. Because I think that a lot of people have the idea that you can only have one or the other. A lot of people think that in order to be skeptical and in order to think critically, you have to be completely incredulous about everything and be completely cynical about everything and suspicious of everything and everyone. And on the flip side, people think that in order to be positive and happy and optimistic, that means that you have to be impractical or unrealistic or emotion-based. And my theory, or at least my philosophy, is you can have both, and that's what I try to express on this channel. You recently posted a blog thing about the need as a content creator who also needs to focus on making a living to remember why you started making content in the first place. Is there a way to keep that in mind going forward, or is there a danger of you forgetting that and getting caught up in the necessary day-to-day problems of your job? So yeah, this one actually references that blog post that I mentioned earlier. I really think the way you keep it in mind is just by consciously reminding yourself all the time. Just never get too complacent, never get too comfortable, never get too caught up in the routine. Just constantly remind yourself, what am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? Like, one of the reasons that I've gone so hard into trying to become a YouTube creator, and not specifically a YouTube creator, but just an independent, self-employed person, is because I'm really bad at doing jobs that I don't care about. Like, maybe that makes me like a spoiled brat, I don't know, but I've just always been bad at jobs. I'm just terrible at them. Like, I'll do the job for maybe a good year, and then after that I just burn out and crash and burn and just stop trying and either quit or get fired. That's just my experience with jobs. Some people are good at that. I'm not. I'm terrible at it. So I've been lucky enough to pursue something that I actually enjoy and I actually care about. So it's of utmost importance to me that I keep in mind why I do this and why I care about it, and never get to the point where I'm just like going through the motions and just not caring about it. Because if I do that, I will fail. I will fail. Did you watch the new Power Rangers movie? I actually did watch the new Power Rangers movie. It's definitely the best Power Rangers movie. But since the other Power Rangers movies are pretty terrible, that's not really saying much. The thing about the Power Rangers movie is it doesn't really know if it wants to be a cheesy, campy nostalgia movie or a legitimate superhero movie. It kind of veers in and out of both of those things. I think it should just choose what it wants to be and just go with it. But overall, it was a fun movie. Nothing wrong with just a little mindless fun. It doesn't hold a candle to the best Marvel superhero movies, but I don't know if it's trying to. What kind of video games do you play besides some fighting games? So yeah, anyone who knows me knows that fighting games are my favorite types of video games. I just love fighting games because I'm really competitive and I like kicking people's ass. It's just my thing. Currently, I've been playing nothing but the new Zelda game, Breath of the Wild, It's an amazing game. One of the best games of all time, I'm calling it. In fact, it's so good that I'm scared that Nintendo will not be able to top it. But that's pretty much the only game that I've been playing lately. But I like all genres. I just like good video games. I don't really care what type of game it is, as long as it's good. I mean, my favorite types of games are competitive games like fighting games and MOBAs. But if you make a good game, I'll play the game. What's your biggest pet peeve? In order for something to be a pet peeve, does it have to be irrational? My biggest pet peeve is probably when people are condescending to me, like when they talk to me like I'm stupid. Like that drives me crazy. But I feel like that's a rational response, so I don't know if it counts as a pet peeve. What is the purpose of a pain-filled and torturous existence? Are we made who we are by our suffering? Well, that's heavy. Sheesh. I guess some people are made who they are by their suffering, but also some people do not live pain-filled and torturous experiences. Some people have relatively mundane lives and some people have awesome lives. But if you're asking what is the purpose, I don't think there's any purpose. We just get dealt the cards that we're dealt in life and we just have to try to make the most of it. It sucks. I mean, life isn't fair. But I think that a lot of us have a good opportunity to make something out of this crazy life that we've been given. And I think that's what we should be aiming to do. Like, try to find your own purpose and try to make something out of this. Have you changed your mind on piracy since Internet Piracy meh? For those who don't know, I made a video like several years ago about Internet Piracy where I basically say that I don't have a problem with piracy, and in fact I think I even advocate for piracy in that, like, I say that we should do it. And I don't know, I need to go back and watch that video. I'm not exactly sure what I said. It's kind of similar to the punching a Nazi thing. It's like, I don't think you should do it, but if you do it, I'm okay with it. I don't care. The consumer should not be punished because big companies refuse to update their business model or advance their technology. And things like piracy force these companies to update their business model, which is what they should do. But it's a little more nuanced and complex than that, and maybe we can talk about that in the future. Is Roy your boy? Well, of course, he has to fire. What do you think that the limits of free speech should be, i.e. direct threats of violence and whatnot? Speaking of punching Nazis, I think there's some things that clearly shouldn't be protected by free speech, including like threats of violence. You know, there's classic examples like yelling fire in a crowded theater. But in terms of just expressing an idea or a viewpoint, I cannot really think of many things or any things that I think should just straight up be illegal to express. I don't think that should be a thing. I do think that individual citizens or groups of citizens can come together to protest or criticize speech, which is in and of itself a form of free speech. And I do think that there are certain types of speech that citizens are justified in deplatforming. Like if a guy was touring the country giving speeches about how it's okay to beat your wife when she makes you mad, I'm completely okay with no platforming that guy, because to me that idea is very clearly unacceptable and has no merit whatsoever, and there is no benefit to legitimizing that idea. And yes, I think people who promote Nazism and white supremacy also fall in that category. But beyond that, as most of you probably know, I'm a very huge advocate for very free expression, and sometimes I piss off my progressive peers when I talk about it. There are very few types of expression that I think should be limited or banned. And I guess we'll end it there. I do a Q&A video at the beginning of every month, so leave me some questions in the comments below for next month's Q&A. If you're new here, I make videos where I start discussions about politics, social issues, and pop culture. Click subscribe if you'd like to see some videos like that. And if you're a long-time subscriber and you find any value in my videos, or if you just want to support me, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. And remember, stay Hanko.